I'm back with part two of the season finale with my husband, Bryan Curtis. Um, Today is the season finale, Bryan, and I know you've listened to every single episode, most of them more than once because you kind of had to. You're just in the house and you hear them. I'm dying to know, like, what do you think of all this? Like, what do you think of the friendship tour?
Well, I am number one, very, very proud of you. And I mean, you're my wife, and we've been together for a long time, and I've known you even longer. But I'm very proud of you for a number of reasons. The first is that this is something that aligns with who you are as a person, and you decided to pursue this. And it really, really seems to feed into what you're interested in and what you're really, really good at. Like this is something that I've admired about you for a long time. The talent and the abilities that it takes to engage people in this way, and watching you pull this off is amazing, number one. But number two, I like seeing you doing you in your element. And this is your element. You thrive in this element. You are happy in this element. And, when you're happy and you're feeling good and you're doing good things, not just that you're happy and you're feeling good, but you're actually doing good things. You're impacting people in such a positive way. It makes me feel good to see that you're feeling good and enjoying what you're doing. So, I love watching you and listening to you do this.
We talk about this stuff all the time, but I really, really love doing it. I mean, I love talking to my friends. I love reconnecting with people. I love that there are friends I've had my whole life, and then there are friends that I've had for a season. But it's been so much fun to go back and talk to many of them over the past couple of months. And yeah, I do love the other stuff too, like the microphones and the scripts and the writing, and it's a lot of fun. But mostly it's about the relationships, and just being able to reconnect with people and tell them thank you. Tell them thank you for being such a blessing to me. That's
One
been the
thing I've
biggest
really,
joy.
one thing I've really enjoyed about this is I feel like I guess I am part of the relationship in a sense. Vicariously, I'm part of the relationship. Just experiencing it through you. But in listening to the podcast, I feel like the moments that I wasn't around for, I feel like I was around for. Like listening to the stories, and I didn't know you back when you and Lauren were walking on a beach, but I felt like I was there. I felt like I was in the moment. And, the things that you and Wendy were talking about, I wasn't around for, but I felt like I was there. And I felt really, really drawn in and really engaged. And, all of your guests have been so great and so revealing and so open and so honest, and been so willing to expose themselves and share themselves with you and with the world, that again it just draws us in. And I really enjoyed I've enjoyed the ride, and I'm grateful that I get to be a part of it.
Well, thank you for being a part of it. And it has been a fun ride. It's not over yet, but it's been a fun ride up to this point. Um, do you have a favorite episode or a favorite guest?
I can't say that I have a favorite one, because each episode I feel like I'm learning something new and I'm experiencing a different element of you. And that's like picking a preferred element of you.
Oh,
And I can't do that. Not that I can't do it because I'm your husband, but because each each episode kind of reveals a different aspect. But I really enjoyed all of them, and I've gained something from each episode. There are always take-home messages from each episode, and like I said, I think that your guests have all been amazing. All of your friends have been amazing, and there's just been so much to learn from each individual. There have been moments of ups where I'm laughing, and I mean, there have been moments where I'm like, okay, all right, maybe I should wipe my face a little bit. And I told you that I can't listen to your podcast at work
Yeah.
because that's not, I don't need to go see someone with like a red eyes or something. So, yeah, they each have been unique and very, very enjoyable and funny. And then, soft.
I don't always know what's funny though. That's the funny thing. I mean, and I
That's what
told
makes it
you,
funny.
I know, but I just really don't know. And I told you early on, you couldn't listen to the podcast in my presence because I couldn't watch your face, your listening face. And I never knew what you were laughing at. And I was like, that wasn't a funny episode. So why is he laughing? So you got better. I shouldn't say you got better, but you started listening in the car and when I wasn't around because I just felt very nervous when I knew you were listening. So that's been funny. It's been funny to experience you experiencing the friendship tour. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you learned? I feel like you know everything about me, but have you learned anything new? I mean, or about my friends? I don't know.
Well, it's interesting to hear you from different perspectives. Like I know my perspective of you, but I'm only coming at you and coming to you with my eyes. So it's interesting to hear the same you just viewed from a different standpoint. And that standpoint spans periods of time, and it actually goes over the same periods of time for some individuals. So like I've been with you during the same period of time, but other individuals have just captured the same moment from a different standpoint.
Yeah.
So again, it's interesting to hear different perspectives on the same moment and then different perspectives on you from different moments in time. That kind of gives me an idea of how you've evolved and changed as a person. Whether you've evolved and changed as a person.
I
You
don't
are
know if I
remarkably
have. I'm still kind
consistent.
of the same. Yeah.
Remarkably consistent. But yeah, it's interesting to me to just see you from different perspectives.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, I do feel like each of my friends brings out a different part of me. Not that I'm a different person with them, but they bring out a different part of me. And I talked about that before, how I'm seeking those friends because of, something I see in them that I want more of, whether it's laughter or, prayer or faith. Yeah, I feel like they bring out a different part of me. So I can understand why you would say you're seeing me differently depending on who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
Have
As a listener,
you?
I don't know what I'm going to get from week to week. I mean, and I live in the same house as you,
That's
but I
true.
don't know what's coming up from one week to the next. And that's great. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. It's just a lot of fun for me. But thank you. Thank you for being a listener and giving me that feedback. Have you learned anything new about friendship along the way?
I don't think that I ever thought about friendship in the same way that you have presented. I think that friendship to me has been very different, and I don't know if that's because of who I am as a person or to what degree chemistry. By chemistry, I mean like male versus female kind of stuff. I don't know what falls into what camp as the source of the different experience, but I've learned things about friendship, particularly the depth of friendship that you experience. I don't necessarily experience in the same way. So it's interesting to me to hear how you experience friendship and how your friends experience friendship, and to put that in the context of how I experience friendship and how I experience friendship with my friends. So that has been a learning experience for me.
How do you experience friendship with your friends? I mean, we've only heard the woman's perspective. We've heard from lots of women, but it's been all women. So what is your perspective? I mean, how is friendship different for men and women? And I'm
Well,
not asking you to speak for all men,
sure,
please.
sure.
But how's it different for you? Maybe I should say that.
Sure, sure. Thank you for clarifying that, because I can't generalize, for all men, friendship. But okay, I'll put it like this, right? There's one of my very, very close friends from high school that you've heard me mention before. If he's listening, what's up, Jay? I mean, I had friends in high school, but I'm
Yeah.
specifically thinking about a relationship, with him then. But, our friendship was such that if I called him up, like we would hang out most weekends, but if I called him up and something didn't seem right, he would say something like, "Your girl tripping?" And, and I say, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, your girl tripping." And that was it. That was all it took. Like he heard something and identified that somebody was tripping, and that my call was an expression that something wasn't right because somebody was tripping, and that was it. That's all it took. And that was a full expression, and that was more than satisfactory. That was fulfilling.
That was the whole conversation.
That
Your
was
girl
it.
tripping?
That
Yeah,
was it.
she
And then, I
tripping.
mean, yeah, of course, then, we would go, we go get in the car and drive around for a little bit, and, just listen to music, loud music, and just drive around. But that was the extent of the conversation. That was the full expression of my problems. That was a full expression of his understanding of my problems. But he summed it up in, how many words is that? Yeah, girl, tripping. 3 words. That's the summation of the conversation. But it was all that I needed.
And you
It was
could argue
comprehensive.
that it's really just one word, girl. Because yeah, and
Okay,
tripping.
okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah. But it was complete. It was
It's
comprehensive.
complete. It's a complete thought.
It's a complete thought. And that was what I needed in the moment. So he understood me.
He understood. He saw
Yeah.
you. He
He
saw
saw
you.
me, yes, where I was at that time, at that moment in life. And that's all you can hope for.
That's all you can hope for. So you mentioned that he saw you. He understood where you were. I do think that's actually a really important quality in friendship. That people, you can say all kinds of things, but do people have, I don't know, the emotional intelligence or the social skills, or do they just understand you well enough to know, okay, he's saying this thing or she's saying this thing, but there's more to it. There's something under that.
Yeah.
And I love that about different types of friends. You can say whatever, but it doesn't matter what you say. They know what you're not saying. They can read the full picture. They can hear the full story, even if you don't share it with them. Yeah, I don't know. Well, is there anything you want to ask me?
Oh, okay. Well, Cecelia, friendship tour host, what would you say that you have learned over the friendship tour?
I've learned that the more grateful I am, the more I find I have to be grateful for. And I started off the friendship tour really just wanting to tell my friends thank you. Like, thank you for how they've blessed me. And I had a decent list of people I wanted to talk to, but as I started talking to people, I started thinking of more things that I was thankful for, more people that I was thankful for. I started thinking the days were sunnier and I don't know, as I just started being thankful, I started having more to be thankful for. And that was not something that I was seeking, but I think it was something that just happened. And here I am being thankful again. Like, I'm thankful that it happened that way. I really am. I'm thankful for the new friends I've made along the way. People I didn't know or I didn't know very well who agreed to help me with the friendship tour. I'm thankful for people I've met since I started the friendship tour who are like, "Yep, I'll do it." And I'm like, "Why? You don't even know me, you know?" But yeah, I just find that as I'm thankful, I have more to be thankful for. That's the biggest thing I've learned.
Okay. I have another question for you.
Sure.
And you don't have to answer with any names, all right?
Okay.
Has there ever been an encounter where you did not think that you were going to be friends with this person, except for Alex? You specifically mentioned Alex in an episode, because, you worked with Anthony and, just the
Yeah.
whole setup, was different. But have you ever encountered a situation where initially you thought, I'm probably not going to be friends with this person, and you ended up being friends with an individual? Or would you say that your first impression is usually spot on?
That's a good question. I can think of situations where I did not think I would be friends with the person. I and it was usually for something, a misunderstanding or something very superficial. And I hope to talk to two of those people in season two, three of them probably in season two, but people that I didn't understand on the surface. And as I got to know them a little bit better, I was like, I get it. And I love this person. So, yes, I can think of people I did not think I would be friends with. And actually, we became very good friends.
So, okay. So I guess we could say we're now completing season 1 of the friendship tour. Okay. What would you say are, for someone who is looking to be a better friend, what would you say are the take home messages from Friendship Tour Season 1 and how someone can be a better friend?
I think you got to pick up the phone. You do. Sometimes you just have to pick up the phone and call. And I understand everyone's so busy and life feels at times that there's just no time to talk. But in those cases, I would say send a text message and say, I'm going to call you, set up some time. I strongly feel that we need human connection. I don't think texting and, social media get the job done. They're nice and they help bridge the gap until you can be together again, and they help bridge the gap until you can talk again. And you don't always have time for a 45-minute conversation, but I do think it's important. I think Nadine said this, one of my guests earlier in the season. I think she said it was important to actually hear what someone sounds like, not just have a text that says, yep, I'm good. But when you call and you hear what's going on in someone's house, or you hear they're saying I'm good, but their voice sounds different, I think that's important. And then not just hearing it, but following up on it, and maybe you follow up and the person's not ready to talk about it, or I don't know. It doesn't always result in what you think it's going to result in, quite frankly. But I think you have to try to be present. I think you have to be a little bit vulnerable to be a friend. You have to be willing to share some of yourself. You don't have to share everything with everyone, but I think you have to share something. I think by sharing a bit of yourself, you're inviting others to do the same. And it's in that exchange of vulnerability that I think a real relationship happens. That's my opinion, but I think that's been true in my life.
Again, I feel like I've learned so much, in the friendship tour, and I think that you have touched on a lot of things, and what you just said. Of course, along the many episodes that have already occurred, but I feel like I've learned a lot in identifying it, not only identifying but recognizing when you did not identify something going on in a friend. Particularly, I'm speaking of the Wendy episode.
Mm.
Um, you just kind of touched on things about, being attentive and, but you didn't say this explicitly, but reflecting.
Mm.
After you talk with a friend, it seems like it's important to actually consider what it was that you talked about and think, well, did I miss something? And I think that's something that came out in particularly the Wendy episodes. You went back and talked with her because you realized maybe there was something that I missed. And that was something that was really a take home message for me. And I think that it was really, really cool to listen to the episode about making new friends.
Mm.
And I mean, I was partially there for that experience, but not really. But it was very, very interesting to hear you talk about making new friends and how situations can lead to the development of new friendships if you're open to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's another take home message, being open to experience and share and be vulnerable at the right time.
Right.
But yeah, those are big take home messages for me that I gained from you.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the making new friends one. I think one of the things that came out in that conversation with Kennedy, who I met in the airport, was that she saw that I needed help and she
Mm-hmm.
helped me. And she was happy that I was willing to receive the help. And I think that is not always the case. Some people are like, I don't need help. I can do everything by myself. But sometimes people are offering help as an act of friendship, an act of kindness. And when you don't know how to respond to that kindness, you're turning off the potential friendship, the potential friend. So she brought out that point, and I thought that that was an excellent point. You touched on the openness. I haven't talked much about this, but part of the reason part of the reason there are these friends in different places for me is I had a genuine need. I was
Mm-hmm.
open to different friendships. We are a military family and we've moved around, you know, enough. I wouldn't say we've moved as much as many military families, but we've moved around enough, more than most people move. And you've worked a lot, especially earlier in our marriage. So my options were either stay at home alone in a strange city or a strange country, or get out there and make some friends. And, I got out thankfully and made some friends. But it was definitely a need in my life. And I was open to meeting new friends wherever they were, however they were, wherever we lived. So I've never thanked you for that. And this will probably be the only time I thank you for that. Um, but yeah, like thank you for dragging me all over the world so I could meet these cool people. Like I love my friends. I love the life that we have together. I wouldn't have predicted this would be our life when we started out, 21 years ago, but it's a really great life. It feels like a really rich life. I'll put it that way. because of the relationships we have. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I started the friendship tour as a way to reconnect with friends and thank them for being a blessing to me in my life. And I have to end by thanking you. You're my best friend. You're the best husband in the whole world. You're the best father to our kids. Happy Father's Day in advance. And I just feel really blessed to have you. I feel blessed that we found each other so young. I was 17 when we met. And I just think that was a blessing because we could learn together and grow together and have many, many years of happiness together. You know, when we got engaged, I was really excited, but I was also 23 and I was just a bit freaked out about getting married. Then after we paid the money to reserve the reception hall, we drove back to my parents' house, and I don't know if you remember, but we just sat in the car. We sat in the car, like, do you remember that? We sat in the car and I just completely freaked out for an extended period of time. It was more money than I had ever spent. And the thought of getting married, it was just like a lot. If your feelings were hurt by my freak out, I'm sorry. But you also, like, I'm sorry. It is what it is. But you never showed it. You never showed it if your feelings were hurt. Instead, you calmly said, don't worry, we'll be happy. I promise. And I just want to thank you for keeping that promise every single day in every single way. We are quite happy together, and you are my best friend, and I love you. I love you.
And I love you. And I don't know any more complete way to respond to what you just said other than saying, you're my best friend and I love you.
All right, let's log off and I don't know, keep doing life.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Season 1.
Season 1. Bye, dear.
Bye-bye.